Good morning, welcome back to the channel on this week's vlog. So this week I'm at a place called West Mersea, and Mersea Island is a beautiful, beautiful island. Sean Mills, Mersea Mills, he lives here. I was going to try and meet up, but he's unfortunately at work today. But I'm going to come back and recreate this shot that I did in 2008. Now in 2008 I was using a Canon 40D, I think, and I was in the loft the other day putting the decorations away for Christmas, and I came across this external hard drive that I had many years ago, and I'd lost the power supply for it, but I found it. So it's been really interesting firing that up, re-importing the pictures into Lightroom, and I came across this image and I thought it would be quite interesting actually to re-photograph it again with the Z7ii and just compare what it's like, because nowadays we've got upscaling software to increase the pixel count, I guess. I'm not quite sure how it does it, whether it does it. It's pretty non-destructive. It's apparently quite good. I've got various bits of software that will do it. Luminar does it, and Photoshop does it. I'm sure there are a load of others. But I'm going to upscale it because the original image, I think, the original JPEG would have been something like 10 megapixel, maybe 12, and this is obviously 50 or 45, so certainly be interesting to have a look. I mean, the picture that I shot back in 2000 and 2008 has sold loads of times. I've sold loads of prints of it. It's been in loads of magazines, it's been on the photo libraries, has done quite well. So it's one of my most successful pictures, and the story goes that I wanted to shoot it with the early morning sunrise sky because the magentas and the reds kind of match the beach huts. Now the beach huts that I'm photographing are behind you because that's the way the sun rises. I've just shot it actually, but I'll show you in a second what I'm shooting. I'm using a very wide angle lens because in those days I was using a Sigma 10 to 20mm wide angle lens with coking filters. My photography, I'm sure, has improved, but to try and recreate that effect I'm using the Z7ii and I'm on about 16mm here, which is about the same. So the shot will be, in all intents and purposes, quite similar. Obviously it won't be exact because conditions are more important than camera gear, really. But we're going to try and ask the question today: is it okay to use an old camera off eBay or MPB and upscale it rather than going to the trouble of buying all this new flash camera gear? Let's find out. Okay, so here's the shot. So turn the camera on for you. So it's really looking at the colours and matching these. I don't know what colour that is. I kind of always felt it was magenta, but we've got a kind of a light pink. There's certainly a darker one there, a purpley colour, a blue and a green. And that kind of blue and purple match really well with a sunrise sky. I shot this at sunset once and the colours in the sky were orange and it didn't kind of work so well for me, so I've reshot it again at sunrise. On the screen you can see I've got a little kind of gap in the huts here and they go back behind you, wide open. All I need to do is get this level, and the sky in actual fact looks really good because through this camera, just focus up on the back button focusing, we've got this bluey kind of sky. So you need a clear sky for this, which is not ideal for landscape photography generally, but it works really well for this shot. So I've actually pretty much recreated this as it was, I think. So what we've got is these beach huts. We'll see the different colours, and the idea is that these colours blend in with the magentas that come at sunrise. Now it's kind of going that colour at the moment because the sun is going to rise, so when the sun rises it's just going to blow all those subtle colours away. But the shot I've done earlier should have them in. And this particular shot there, and this is just to show the composition, but we've got the sun rising over here, and I'm hoping it's going to kick off those clouds a little bit. I think there's a cloud on the horizon, which means it's not going to work, but there are some clouds coming in from the right, which you can't see, but what I want them to do is just rest here, and then this rising sun will hopefully light them up to fill this little bit of blank space. And I think this might be an even better picture than the last one. The only thing I'd love, Mersea, and this won't be very good for the island, because I'd love there to be some water in here just to get rid of these footprints, but obviously if that's the case, Mersea Island's going to be flooded, and that's not going to be very pleasant. So we're just going to wait now and see what happens when the sun comes up. It might be okay, or it might just not be any different really. This might just completely, this bit here may completely blow out. Right. Let's just wait and see what happens then. It's a lovely day though, the moon's up, it's beautiful. It's 10 to 8 in the morning, it's ridiculous, so late. Right, that's sunrise. And it's nothing really. There's nice clouds right up here, but nothing where I want it over the beach huts. But that doesn't matter, because the original picture didn't have any clouds in it either, so it's going to really work well for this. So the next thing I'm going to do is going to go back to my office, and I'll get both images up for you and we'll talk to you about them. I'm going to compare the original 40D image with the Z7ii one. And then what I'm going to do is use some upscaling software on the 40D image to see if it makes any difference. If you look at the prints, I don't think there'll be a great deal of difference, but I think what is different is this camera is a lot cleverer. The sensor's better. It's a lot easier to use. I think there's definitely going to be that for it. I think live, the way I work now, certainly from looking at it now in 2024 to 2008, I'm now using the screen, and I never used to. I used to use the viewfinder all the time. So the live views definitely improved a lot, and I know that from the Nikon D7000 that I've got for infrared photography. I know from that this is a lot easier to use, and I actually did use it. And if you haven't seen it, go and check out the video, the Witch's Leg and infrared, where I used a D5000, and that was really difficult to use. So I think things like dynamic range are going to be better. I don't know whether we'll be able to see that, but we'll have a look. So let's go back and have a look in Lightroom, and I'll talk you through my thoughts.
And here we are in Lightroom. So I've got the two images ready. The one on the left shot with the 350D, and the one on the right from today with the Z7ii. So the first thing we're going to have a little look at is the noise. Now bear in mind that the Z7ii is a much bigger file, so it will print a lot bigger with the same amount of pixels. But even looking at this, I can detect some noise on the 350D, which you would expect. I mean, it's quite an old camera, and that noise there is quite apparent, whereas the Z7ii looks a lot cleaner. Actually, if I get them about the right size, something around there. And also, if you look around the edges here, you can see that there's some aberrations. I'm not sure what the technical terms are for these, but it definitely looks sharper on the right, and there are more colors, I would say. So the dynamic range, again, which I would expect, is bigger or greater than the Z7ii. If we zoom in even closer, you can see that Z7ii image, which is hugely magnified now, is a lot cleaner than the 350D. There are some pixels on the left on the 350D which just look a different colour. It's very blocky. You can see very clearly that the Z7ii is a cleaner file. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to upscale the 350D image using the Luminar upscale software. So we import it into Luminar, into the catalog, add it into the upscale, and I'm going to upscale this by 4 times. So let's watch that do its magic. And there we go. So that's upscaled that. So what I'm now going to do is export this as a TIFF file, the best quality file that we can find. We're going to go to 16-bit. That looks about right. And the next thing is to import it back into Lightroom. There's the upscaled version. I'm now going to right click on here and import this back into my collection. So that's back into the collection, back into the develop module, and now we'll look at that as the reference. And then we're going to drag the Z7. So this time the Z7 file is on the left. Actually, it wasn't that one, it's that one. That's better. Now, we've now got an upscaled version of the 350D. Let's see what's happened with this upscaling. It still looks very pixely, but that is obviously a lot bigger. So let's get them at the right size. What do we discover? It certainly looks better. I would say it looks a little sharper, but there are still, in my opinion, the file on the left from the Z7 is a lot cleaner, it's a lot sharper. It's upscaled the 350D, but it hasn't sorted out the noise. So what I need to do now is to denoise, maybe add some noise reducing software on the 350D. Yeah, both again. There's more dynamic range in the Z7. It looks more lifelike. It looks like there's more detail in there compared with the 350D, which is a little flat. But looking at it there, it looks okay. And again, this would depend on what you're doing with it. It's fine for social media. So we're going to go to a pre-sharpened bit of software from Nik. Now what I'm going to do is get rid of the noise. So this is a Nik Define, which reduces the noise. So we're going to open that up into that. And I'm just going to let the software assess it automatically. So I'm not going to do any, I don't claim to be very good at this kind of thing anyway. Open it up, there we go. Get rid of this advert. Let's make this a bit bigger so you can see it easier. And there are various adjustments. Now I'm sure there are people watching this video who know exactly how to work all this. I just generally let it do it automatically, let it do its thing. So if we compare this, now if I drag that, you can see that on the right is the denoised one, on the left the original file. So it's taken some of that noise away. Can't really tell at that resolution. Then we need to have a good look at this. You can just see it softens it out, but then it needs some sharpening. So this is certainly going to be harder to get anywhere close to the Z7 II. And in fact, I don't think it's going to be possible. But this sensor is an 8 megapixel sensor and it's at least 16 years old. So, but you can see it's just trying to get rid of those artifacts and softening it all up. But there's not enough data there for it to do a great job. It's doing a good job, but I don't think it's going to be quite enough. I would easily prefer the Z7ii file to work with and to print out for a client. And here we are back in Lightroom with the noise reduction added. The other thing I'm going to do now is I am going to sharpen this with this sharpener software from, again, Nikon Z7ii, just to sharpen it for the screen to see if that will somehow improve it enough. I don't think it will. I think it does a brilliant job. Here is the sharpening software, and you can see it's just kind of brought those jaggedy edges back in again. It's less noisy, it's cleaner, so that has done a little bit of a job. We're going to adjust that a little bit, and that's certainly better than it was. Put it back into Lightroom. So here are the two final images. The one on the right is the one that's had the upscaling, the denoising, and then it's been sharpened. And this is now a huge file. It's bigger than the Z7, and this is the original TIFF. Can't find the raw file anywhere. I must have misplaced it, but you can see from that things look a little bit sharper on the right. So I think if you were printing this out to A4, you would definitely prefer to print the one on the right. If we look at this closely though, there's still an awful lot of odd squiggly things going on there. Other people might know what that is, but it just looks to me like it's sharpened the artifacts up completely. Now this on the left is now the Z7ii file, and you can already see that looks cleaner. There aren't those little squiggly lines. Maybe, I mean, I haven't worked on this, I could still denoise it. It's taken fairly early in the morning, but it's not particularly long exposure. But look, there's the difference. Look at the one on the right now, the 350D has been sharpened, but it's nowhere near as sharp as the one on the left, and the Z7ii wins this, I think. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that. This is the final picture from the Z7ii. And I guess what we've discovered is that the 350D 8 megapixel sensor, even with upscaling and noise reducing software and sharpening software, still can't really come close to a Nikon Z7ii file. That's not to say that Nikons are better than Canons. I don't want to get involved in any of that, but obviously this technology is now about 14 years newer and things have progressed. The Z7ii file has been so much easier to work with. The camera itself is so much easier to work with than the 350D, but it has to be said that I do prefer the composition from the Canon camera, and I would definitely use that for social media if printing wasn't an issue. But it has to be said, there is no substitute in landscape photography for conditions, for light, for time of day, for composition. So it's not the camera that you've got, it's what you point it at is the important thing. So if you can only afford a Canon 350D, should you go out and take seascapes, landscapes? Absolutely you should. Just to have the camera that you can afford. Obviously, the more money you spend, the better the quality will be, but you'll only really notice if you're going to print it out. So thanks ever so much once more for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you like this kind of stuff, landscape photography, then I produce a video every Sunday at 6 o'clock. It'd be lovely to have you as part of the community if you subscribe. Come and join us. Go and check out the back catalogue. There are quite a few videos for you to enjoy. And if not, I'll see you next Sunday at 6 o'clock. Thanks ever so much for tuning in. Take care. Goodbye.